This came out of the New York Post yesterday. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand screamed at Democratic colleagues in intra-party dispute over looming government shutdown. This, according to reports from inside the Senate, Kirsten Gillibrand was heard screaming during a private Democratic Senate meeting on the government shutdown. According to reports, her voice was loud enough to be heard through the room's thick wood doors. She was reportedly arguing against allowing the government to shut down. When pressed for comment, Gillibrand's office did not respond. But she is not the only angry Democrat that we have seen this week. And so I pulled a few different news stories and clips, and I'd love for you guys to give me your reaction to why the Democrats are currently melting down. Here is out of USA Today. This is March 12th. House hearing abruptly ends after GOP lawmaker misgenders Sarah McBride. This happened during a House subcommittee hearing that ended abruptly when Representative Keith Self from Texas misgendered Representative Sarah McBride, the first openly transgender member of Congress. The incident occurred during a House Foreign Affairs Europe subcommittee. The hearing was on arms control and international security. Here's the moment where Representative Self from Texas misgendered Sarah McBride.
I now recognize the representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ranking Member Keating, also wonderful.
Mr. Chairman, could you repeat your introduction again, please?
Yes, we have set the standard on the floor of the House, and I'm simply...
What is that standard, Mr. Chairman?
Biology?
Would you repeat what you just said when you introduced a duly elected representative from the United States of America? Please.
I will. The representative from Delaware, Mr. McBride.
Mr.
Dare you?
Chairman, you are out of order.
The whole freaking
Mr. Chairman, have you no decency? I mean, I've come to know you a little bit, but this is not decent.
We will continue this.
You will not continue it with me unless you introduce a duly elected representative the right way.
Do you notice how he wouldn't even...
This hearing is adjourned.
Sounds so fake, the outrage. It's like, let me just grab a little piece of outrage.
That's a great observation. At no point so the senator that jumped in on that was William Keating, a Democrat from Massachusetts.
I call him the White Knight of the day.
He jumps in to save the day, but you're right. He never addresses Sarah McBride as she.
I would like just to take this moment to quote George Orwell. The party told you to reject the evidence of your eyes and ears. It was their final, most essential command. Can you believe that what's going on right there is, A, they're trying to force a man, to identify another man as a woman because that person identifies themselves as a woman, whatever the heck that means, to defy his own understanding of biology and his own good conscience. The jackass in the middle doing it can't bring himself to say, you will refer to her as a her, because even he knows it's absurd. And the ultimate joke in all of this is McBride is not going to sleep with you, guy in the middle. I don't know who that was. The Democrat.
Do you want
That's the
that?
point. That's called compelled speech, and it's the only thing worse than censorship. Like if them making you say things that you don't want to say, and that's a big deal with Jordan Peterson. That's why he got in trouble, and his original fight was against compelled speech in Canada, and they're making the authority in the room because he's a chairman at that point.
To the mic, Humberto.
All right, at that point he's the authority in the room, and they're making him turn his way of thinking.
To the mic, Humberto.
What do you mean? Like I have the mic where?
When you turn.
Just I want the audience to hear you.
All right. But that's what it is. Like there's nothing worse than compelled speech.
Dude, look down. Go like this. It's
I thought I had enough with Adam interrupting me, and now it's everyone interrupting me.
Just to highlight the one other absurdity that nobody picked up on is McBride refers to him as chairwoman.
Yeah.
Nobody cares. Why? Because he's clearly not a woman. Why does McBride, or not, McBride didn't even freak out when he called him a him. It was the dude in the middle. Why does everyone freak out about that? Because they know it's not the case, and by virtue of you refusing to submit to their compelled speech, you're defying their authority.
And did you see what McBride was doing today? McBride's sitting in front of a group of kids who are like probably in first grade or something, reading a book about how like Jazz or whatever, like, oh yeah, well, Jazz went to the doctor and found out that she wasn't in fact a girl, she was a boy, and the doctor said, that's okay, that makes you special. Like, that's some demonic shit right there.
Well, where was this at, and what was the age group?
It was like
Not that it's
first
right-
graders.
Oh.
Yeah, like young toddlers.
Well, and see,
Like that
I think,
lady.
I
or,
think
I messed up. That man, that cross-dresser, was
you
doing
called
that.
I called her an it. Sorry.
It.
I think of all of the terms, I think it is the most offensive, right?
Probably.
If you're a trans person, would you rather be misgendered or called it?
You're not
It's
being
kinda dehumanizing.
misgendered. You're being gendered accurately. It doesn't reflect how you view yourself, but I don't have to view someone the way they view themselves. I view them the way I think they are by science and law.
Yes, it's literally dress up at this point. Like they're just playing dress up, and
Some of them don't even play. The worst ones are the ones that are egregiously out there pretending and not even doing the dress up part. Like there's it's stopped. You don't see it as much. But like pre the election, I would see, even 6 months before, you'd see the videos of guys shaving their legs, dressed in a skirt in a Target's women's room. Like those are the people that are doing it to prove a point. And those are the people that I have a problem with. I don't know. Listen, as a woman, do you care if a trans person, if they can pull off being trans looking? Like if Brandon looks trans and he's living life as an authentic woman, he may not be, but he is at least attempting, and he's not doing it for perverted reasons to see chicks pee. Are you okay with a man that's born biologically as a man but identifies as a woman using a ladies' room?
Are you okay with it?
Oh shoot. Honestly.
Yeah, I didn't ask you to lie. Yeah, but go ahead and lie.
No, honestly, there's some transgenders that I have not been able to identify. Like I have met, and there's only been 2 times where I've met someone I knew immediately that they were opposite gender. But there's been some times where my guy friends have texted me and were questionable about some chicks before. That
Do any of those guys happen to book guests for the PvP podcast? Because he almost got tricked. A friend of ours that went on a trip almost got tricked by a transgender at the airport. And I hate to say the word tricked, but I feel like there is some sort of deception that goes on
yeah.
when you're
It should be
advertising something that you're not.
That should be a crime if you get tricked. Like if you get,
100% should be a crime
Yeah,
because
I would
this
fight
guy
somebody.
this guy almost hooked up with this girl who was really a guy. Like that should be illegal. It's
That is
like
basically
herpes. Yeah, no, it's like when
It's
you have
not
herpes.
rape until there's an incident that occurs in the sexual nature. Until then, it might be misadvertising.
I almost feel like it is a form. I kind of agree with Humberto, though. I almost feel like it is a form. Maybe not the word you use because we try not to use that word. But I do feel like it is some sort of assault in a sexual nature.
Worse than catfishing
It is
for sure. And
assault.
catfishing is illegal, right?
I don't think pretending to be someone you're not online.
Yeah.
That's all of Tinder. So
Yeah.
no, I don't think that's illegal. Otherwise, half the editors that are over there for Valuetainment would all be in jail right now. I've seen their Tinder profile.
And what's like buff and
Yeah, everybody's like what they do is because they're video editors, they Photoshop their heads on buffer bodies. I would do that too, but it would look odd because I got a chubby face.
The one thing I've never understood, and I have yet to hear a logical argument for it, if someone is anorexic and says, I feel and look fat, nobody looks at them and says, you are fat, you should really eat less or throw up more. Because you recognize it's a mental issue, don't call it a condition or whatever, and you don't necessarily play into that, especially when it can hurt someone's health. When someone says, I feel like a woman, okay, you can feel like what you want, but I'm not necessarily going to affirm that mental issue that you have. And if you feel that way, it shouldn't matter one sweet bugger all whether or not I play along with it. Someone wants to call me fat, it doesn't matter if I don't feel fat. And someone wants to call me tall, it doesn't matter because I'm not tall. When they say, I get offended if you don't recognize me the way I recognize myself, that is, that's no longer about them anymore. It's about them compelling something out of you.
Well, it's interesting that you bring up that point. Here is Representative Self. He was on, is that Michael Knowles?
Yes.
The Michael Knowles program. Is it the Michael Knowles show? I don't know what it's called, but he appeared on there right after this, I don't even know if it's a controversy or if it's just a guy stating the actual
It's a hissy
truth.
fit.
A hissy fit by a
Yes.
transgender woman.
Well, no, by the white knight. That
So
was
at least,
sticking up for-
you're right. So the guy was actually more offended than Sarah McBride was.
Well, politicians do. They like grab a little piece of outrage to like make a performance about.
Is that the
Having no
outrage?
decency.
Yeah,
Come
yeah,
on.
yeah.
That's how dare you. That's like Greta Thunberg has grown up to be a man.
Let's play this clip. This is where Representative Self says similar to what Viva just said. Just because you have a fantasy doesn't mean that I have to buy into that fantasy.
Why does it matter? What do you say to your Democrat colleague there, the ranking member, who starts raising his voice, threatens to walk out of the proceeding because you referred to a man as Mr.? What do you say to those people who say it is disrespectful for you to call a man who thinks he's a woman Mr.?
Well, Michael, I'm a retired Green Beret. I'm not even sure what all the fuss is about. I mean, he is allowed to live his life. In fact, I spent 25 years on active duty defending his right to live his life as he chooses. But I don't have to participate in his fantasy. So I am under no obligation to participate in something that he chooses to portray himself as.
Boom, perfect.
Perfect.
Imagine
Yeah,
the stuff
he
that
landed
guy.
it.
Imagine the stuff that
Well
guy has seen in
said.
his life, and then he's dealing with this. Like, imagine the war crimes and stuff he's seen, and he's like, this is what's going on now. This is what these people are freaking out about.
I'm still like sort of trying to make sense of this myself. Why didn't anyone get angry when McBride misgendered him?
Because he's a white male.
No, but it's like,
Yeah, and it's impossible to.
because it's so
He's the devil.
No, it's so patently absurd to look at him and call him Madam Chair. So it's an absurd use of a word that is of no consequence. Why do people feign outrage when people do the exact same thing? They'll say it's retaliatory. So McBride calling him Madam
It's justified
is
because,
justified.
yes.
But no one gets offended by it because it's so patently absurd on its face.
You know
what? I mean, it's because people are refusing to recognize the absurdity of asking a grown man who dressed the way you want, more power to him, demanding to be referred to as a she.
It's almost like a currency in a sense, though, to like try to be outraged about something like where like a protected class is being I guess what would you even call that, like misgendered or like having like racist situations against them. Like it's like a currency for them to try to like grab that and use it as something to complain about. But I don't know, it's like really watered down compared to what
Almost
it was.
like the victimhood mentality. I'm a victim of circumstance. You need to hear me. I deserve leniency because I was born in the wrong body. Now you must identify my gender by how I identify it, not how I was born.
Right.
It seems like, and the reason we went down this avenue, because I want to play one more clip of another Democrat visibly upset. This took place during a House committee hearing. It turned contentious when Representative John Larson, a Democrat from Connecticut, ends up freaking out when he's demanding that Elon Musk show up in front of the House committee to talk about the cuts overseen by the Department of Government Efficiency, otherwise known as DOGE. Larson accused the GOP-led committee of following President Trump and Elon Musk instead of acting independently. Larson argued that Musk, despite his wealth, is not above congressional oversight and should have attended the hearing. Here he is having an absolute conniption over Elon Musk not being present despite being requested to be there.
We're an equal branch of government. And you start off with a blather?
A what?
And yet, look at the empty seats here. Where's Elon Musk?
Where are
I'm
my
sure
parents?
he's a genius and is a very credible person because of the wealth he's accumulated. But that does not put him above the law or the responsibility to come before this committee in this Congress. If he's so great, if these plans and all the fraud and abuse that he's found are so eminent, why isn't he here explaining it? You know why.
Nope.
Because he's out to privatize Social Security. He's been on television the last couple of days talking exactly about Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid, and what he intends to do. Privatize it. The American people, some of them may have been born at night, but not last night.
You know, they need to hire Jake, our audio guy, to fix audio for the Senate, because how are they? These people have huge jobs and huge responsibilities, and they have poor mic etiquette and poor
Well, they allocate the
sound
money. Like the
systems.
trillions come from them, and they can't give them to themselves.
You know what the issue is with this guy? I think he's just pissed off because he skipped his 3-martini lunch thinking Elon was going to get there. That is... who's the Kennedy that ran over the person with his car?
That was
Ted?
Oh,
No.
Ted. Yeah, Ted
Kennedy. Does he not
did,
look?
he didn't run over someone. He drove off a bridge with
A hooker?
Kopechne.
A hooker?
No, it was I don't know if she was a hooker, but they were all partying together, and he was supposedly driving her home. Lost control of the vehicle because he may or may not have been drinking. Drove into a canal and then fled the car, and they found her dead inside.
Yep.
Well, that might be why
Then
that
he went
guy
on to be a
channeled.
senator for 30 years.
That guy channeled some serious Kennedy vibes of at least that guy. But performative nonsense. But they need to fix them.
Is that what this is? Is this all performative nonsense, or are we watching Democrats melt down before our very eyes? Because look, when you look at a lot of the wins that the Trump administration has had, the few that we can sit here and say that aren't wins right now. The economy is questionable because we're going to see how the market reacts to the tariffs. But every other policy seems to be working. We put tough tariffs on Mexico. It forced Mexico to tighten down the border, and also. Trump designated drug cartels in Mexico as terrorist organizations, allowing us to then use the military to go after them. They've even had Mexican drug lords handed back over to the United States. A guy that killed a DEA agent that was in a Mexican prison for 30 years got handed over to the United States. So a lot of the things that Donald Trump is doing, put forth, campaigned on, and promised, minus the Epstein files, has come through. So is this the Democratic answer to Donald Trump's wins, is just melting down and being a bunch of crybaby bitches?
Well, you want to go?
Yeah, I mean, they don't know what else to do at this point. This is their only strategy. They're not winning in any other...
But is it a strategy? Who is this for? Does anyone go like, oh, he shouted really hard. I'm going to support...
Exactly.
Well, it gets attention. We're talking about it.
It's true. It does get attention. We do talk about it, so it gets name recognition. But that guy's got to be 60 or 70. You think he's trying to all of a sudden go viral and get fame?
No, I think they're trying to rile up their unhinged base to go carry out more, fire bombings and not defecations. What's it called? The graffiti. Desecration. No, but that's not the right word. Vandalism and destruction of Elon Musk. They are appealing to the lowest common denominator of their base, which right now doesn't care about any of Trump's successes. Just they need to whip them up into an emotional frenzy so they can cause more damage.
I would plead to the Democrats out there: do not defecate.
I'm not surprised.
If you guys want to go and vandalize, I don't like that either. But defecation's gross.
I'm not surprised to hear though. So I mean, two things can be true at the same time. So I mean, I like what he's doing, but we have to be super careful of just letting him go full force, full steam ahead with what he wants to do, because there is another bad outcome that could happen if Elon takes things to the full extent he wants to take it to. Him and his buddies, they also have a creepy outcome that they want, where everything that's in the control of government right now gets privatized, like he's saying. So, you ever heard of a technocracy?
Yes.
Yeah, so, I mean, to the full extent of what he wants to do, that's probably what it would look like. That wouldn't be good either. That's what Blade Runner was.
One of the things you asked earlier, I believe he asked you, Humberto, how much do you trust Elon Musk?
Yeah,
did you ask Viva?
I asked just the room, scale of 1 to 10, how much do you guys trust Elon?
Everybody else go around I want to know, you don't trust him.
I do.
What percentage are you?
I was at when he bought Twitter, I was as important as the Declaration of Independence, so I'm eternally thankful to him for that. So I was at a 9 between then and now. Now I'm at maybe a 7, because
it is interesting you compare it to that. It is almost like a digital Declaration of Independence. It's the only thing that saved free speech and arguably helped get Trump elected, was removing the gatekeepers and the information that the gatekeepers held back.
Yeah,
on
100%.
the Twitter fights, how that was so important. How the government was in bed with these people. It was crazy.
And it put pressure on the other sites to be less restrictive with their censorship.
What are you at? What percentage do you trust Elon Musk?
On camera, 50%.
All right, no one's watching. Off camera.
Off camera, probably 30.
Okay.
Wow.
I don't know.
Has it changed? Was there a peak with that and that's receded?
I think my peak was at the same time. I got up to 55%, and I'm back to 30. I don't trust anyone.
To your point about the what did you call it? Technocracy.
Yeah.
He was trying to he wasn't trying to cozy up to the Kamala and Biden administration, but part of the reason why he did go the Trump route was because they were meeting with EV companies and they never even thought to ask Elon Musk. So it almost feels like he could have gone either way, whichever way was going to get him into the power. If that's his end game, is to have a technocracy. Who's going to get me into the position so that I can set that technocracy up?
And remember when he went full steam ahead behind Trump is after he got shot. Because, I mean, thinking strategically, after he gets shot and lives and has that cool situation, he's like, oh, I'm throwing my full support behind Trump, XYZ. Probably because at that point in time, he's like, all right, it's so much easier to help this guy win than to help Kamala win, especially after that. And then J.D. Vance gets made vice president. J.D. Vance, I made an episode today how he's boys with Peter Thiel. Peter Thiel basically put him on the map, put him in the Senate and then put him in the White House. And Peter Thiel works with the CIA. Elon's really good friends with Peter Thiel. Sachs is now the AIs are, the cryptos are. So the government's loaded with people from that whole tech bro circle.
Viva.
See, the question, do you trust him, is sort of loaded. Because do you trust him in terms of morality, or do you trust him in terms of predictability of what he's going to do? I trust him to do what's in the best interest of free speech, in as much as that is one of his non-business concerns. And I trust him to do what's in the best interest of his businesses, which might have been not to cozy up to a Kamala Harris government. Would I trust him to babysit my kids? Maybe not. Walk the dog, for sure. Do I trust his principled stance on these issues? Yes, because I think he's risked a whole hell of a lot more than he needed to in order to get to where he is or stay where he was. Do I think that he might have some nefarious business ideas or aspirations for humanity? I like the, what's it called, Neuralink? The idea for Neuralink as relates to curing paralysis and blindness, not so much as relates to integrating machine and human. So do I trust him there? I trust him to pursue those ends for those purposes, but not necessarily the moral ends of those purposes.
Who do you think he thinks the ruling class should be?
Does he think that there should be a ruling?
Well, I think he's Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
That's what kind of freaks me out. Is he from what I see, he thinks the ruling class should be a group of people like him and the other smartest, most successful business people in the world.
That might just be a practical issue. If he says it should be a ruling class of him and others, but they listen to the voice of the people when he holds his polls and says, do we do this Vox Populi, Vox Dei, and he does it. I mean, at some point you can't have 350 million people controlling a country or ruling it. You need to have a hierarchy of decision-making. But if the decision-making is relying on the will of the people, then you can trust that sort of decision-making.
What you just said, you know it for sure that he wants a group of really smart people to rule the world?
Yes.
From where? I'm not questioning, but it's interesting.
No, it's like widely talked about that him and Sachs and what's his name, Thiel, they think that the ruling class should be like the tech elite because it's most efficient.
Alicia, how much do you trust Elon Musk?
Like 70-80%. I would say it reminds me a lot of how Trump wasn't running for president, become famous, like for the money. Like it's like the same thing with Elon. Like he isn't running to get a bigger name or for the fame or the money or to. I feel like he genuinely is concerned and cares about the security and problems that's happening to the American people. And he was in a right spot where he was able to help take control of that.
To your point, he has been very vocal on Twitter for a very long time, even before he owned the platform, about the problems that were going on, not just here in the United States, but globally. I think his ultimate goal, my honest opinion, he wants to send people. I think he's an alien. I think he is from Mars, and he's trying to figure out how to get home. And that's why he is so you ever see the photo of him on the boat with the belly? And he's so pale. He's just off. And he's brilliantly off. Don't get me wrong. I drive a Tesla. I love Tesla. You're the man, Elon. It saved my life. Greatest car ever. I think he's an alien from Mars, and he is sent here to try and figure out a way to get back to Mars. And then once he does that, we will then have interplanetary life where we're living on two different planets. But I fully believe 100% he's an alien. Reptilian, actually.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.